Okay, so next what we're going to do is a small lab based on our session. And here you can see this is Postman. We are already inside Postman. And uh, here you can see this is an untitled request. So we haven't started doing anything yet. So if I open this, I'll be able to create new, like add a new URL over here, select what kind of method or what kind of action that I want to do. Depending upon our requirement, we'll be able to do it on this. So to do so, what I'm going to do is we are going to take we have to have a target, right? From where we can take this particular set of data from and all. And for that purpose, what we are going to do is I have a server running on this device. So here you can see this is a local server being run on our own device. And you can check the URL, that is library.demo.local. Okay, and you have a few set of data that is available over here. IP routing, Python for dummies, Linux for networkers. So these are all like content. We can consider this as our table. So I have book ID, title, and author. Okay. Similarly, if you want to learn a bit more on how this documentation works, uh, like you can see like different types of requests and everything that can be used, like get books. So I'll be getting all these book details. And if I mention get books, that ID, I'll have to mention a specific ID. Like one, if I mention that, I'll get data on that particular book and only that. So in such way, you will be able to send in a request and everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we'll be able to send requests from our like Postman to get this particular data. So first, what you're gonna do is send in a small request. Let's go ahead and see how it works. So you have get, that is correct. Then you have to mention the like URL. So HTTP and then the URL is library dot demo dot local slash, we are going to use API request version 1 of the data that you want to get is books. Okay, so that is the data that we want to get. So URL has been set up. And yeah, let's go ahead and see if we'll be able to get that particular set of data. Send the request. Request is being sent. Let's wait. Okay, now you can see the output. That is ID 0, IP routing fundamentals by Mark A. Spotrack. And similarly, ID 1, ID 2, and if you go down, you'll be able to see ID 3. These two are from Cisco System Sync, Cisco System Sync, and all these are the same files or same values that we saw over here. Okay, from 0 to 3, IP routing, Python for dummies, Linux for networkers, netcat, 20 years of online learning. These are exactly the same data that we collected with this particular device's help. Okay, so for this, next what we're gonna see is, so this is basically how you send a get request. So you can see we mentioned get and given the URL and we got all the data from there. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna send in a post request. Like we want to send data over there. So for this particular purpose, what we're going to do is we're going to send in a post request so that we can log into that particular device. Right now, we are only having the reading capability, right? So next we are going to like send in a request by sending an authentication, like a user ID, password and all. And we will be getting a token. Like we are going to collect a token from there, which we can use to send in more data in. Like once you create a user ID, like by using a user ID and password, once you log in, you'll be provided with a token, which you can use later to basically gain access to that entire database. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can set something like that up. Okay, so
But
just
it
give me
is
a
not.
second. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So first, what do you have to change? Obviously, you will have to change the method that you are using over there. So in this case, we are using get. So that get has to be changed into post. Okay, so let's go ahead and change it. Get is changed into post. And next, you will have to add authorization. Okay, so if you want to add authorization, mm, second, let me just increase the size so it will be easier to see. Okay, so if you want to change authorization and all, you have to go into uh, params and then you'll have to make that changes over there. Okay, so before that, instead of books, we should be adding the right URL for our requirement. So in this case, to like gain access, we won't be using books. Instead, we'll be using a different term that is login via basics. So let's go ahead and add that. That means login via basic authentication. Okay. So once the URL is also set, let's go ahead and see if we'll be able to send that request. I click send and you can see not found, not found. There is some issue. We are finding a 404 error, something like not all requirements are there at the moment. 6, let's just confirm that the URL is right. So for that verification, you can check over here, login via basic. Right URLs and everything will be mentioned on this. So let's check. Yes, it is login via, okay, basic, B is caps. So let's go ahead and see. Change that. And send in a request. So request is going, okay, request went, but it is mentioning unauthorized access since we are trying to log in, but we haven't provided it with any user ID or any password or anything like that. Okay, so that has to change. So in this case, what you have to do is you have to give it a user ID and password. So I'm going to just give that to this particular device. And for that, you have to choose authorization. Authorization. And from that, let's choose basic authorization because what I have right now with me is a user ID and password. Okay. So here, let's give the user ID and password. The user ID is Cisco and the password is Cisco 123 and an exclamation mark. Okay, so I added the user ID and password over here now. So that should work. So we have added our required authorization. And if I send, like click send right now, I should be provided with a token. So let's go ahead and see if that happens. And you can see we have a token. Okay, token has been created. So let me just copy this data. So this is in a JSON format. So this is key, this is value. So Cisco, and from there, that is the token value. I'm going to copy this and I'll just save it somewhere over here. create document, empty file, API token. So once that is saved, then I can use it so that I can reuse it later. I've saved it. Control S. Now let's go back. So in such way, you are able to get a security token that can be used. Okay. So next, let's go ahead and make some changes over there. Like here, right now we were only able to send in a get kind of a request, right? So now let's go ahead and see if we'll be able to like maybe add some details or delete some details, etc. Okay, so for that, let's open a new tab. So this was the initial one that we created. And over here, instead of get, I'm gonna use post. And then let's see like if we will be able to add more details over there and verify it. Okay, sure. Now let's go ahead. So this time, again, like if you want to add post or something like that, obviously you will require authorization requirements. So authorization here, this time I'm not going to use a, let's say, basic authorization. Not all times we'll be just typing in user ID password, user ID password. Instead, I'm going to use an API key because we just got one. So API key. So the key should be X API key. So that is the format on how it is being set up on this. Let's just show you. It's not just mentioned that. So I'll just come back. So that is the key. Okay, now next you have to add the actual key value. So that we have already saved it over there. This will be your API key. The other one is just the key value, the variable that we'll be using, and this is the data that will be stored over there. So I just copied it. Now let me just paste it. So that data is set. And I want it to be added onto the header. So that is fine. Okay, so we like created our required data onto the uh, like function. So next what we have to do is we have to send in the data that need to be posted over there, right? So that is another requirement. So for that particular purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the body. That will be where we will be storing the data. Body, and inside the body, uh, we will have to set up the data in JSON format. Okay, so now let's see inside the body, row, text, JSON. You click on row and then you mention JSON. So now we'll be able to add the data inside the JSON format. So right now when we checked earlier, let's see here, we had data from 0, 1, 2, 3. So next we can add 4. Okay, ID 4, we can add one more data over there and let's see if it works. Okay, so let's go in. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. And the data, this is the data that I'm adding. ID 4, title, IPv6 fundamentals created by Rick Rosani, and just an ISBN number, like a random number that we are adding over there. Because we have the ISBN data mentioned inside over here, like in the server, but it's not just printed out, that's why. So now let's go back, and if I send this data, it should be added to that particular data set. So now let's go ahead and see how it works. So I'm going to click send. Let's see, you got an output status 200. Okay, which means it worked, right? The request worked. If not, you won't be getting that particular output. So let's go back to the get request. Let's get all this data. So control V. Now before that, let's check something over here. And here you can see data got updated. Earlier we only had up to 3. Now you can see we have data up to 4. Okay. So this is basically how you can use API to get data, send data. You can use the same method to delete data or update data, any such ways that is required by you. Okay, so this is the method of manipulating data sets or data bases or even devices of its configuration. Everything can be changed as long as you know the location where this change has to take place. And by location, I mean this URL. So for example, if you want to make these changes to the interface, what you do, interface of a router or interface of a switch, all you can do is instead of mentioning this domain library demo.local, you will mention that particular device's IP address. That will be your domain, right? And then you will just like how you access it in your global configuration on a particular device, you will mention interface, then gigabit interface, so that all details will be added over here instead of books. Interface, then slash gigabit ethernet, slash gigabit ethernet 01 or 02 or 10. Once that data set is created, then you go to authorization, depending upon how you have that connect. Like if it is a username and password, you can go for a basic authorization. If you can access it using an API key, then you can set that up. So in any way you want, you'll be able to set up the authorization, give that details over here, and inside the body, you can mention what is the changes that need to be implemented. So that data, you will be able to send that request using JSON format or XML format, depending upon how you want to send it. So this is a basic explanation on how we can use Postman to work with HTTP based or REST based APIs. So thank you guys. Thank you for watching this video. Uh, Make sure that you can do a bit research on this kind of topics. And Postman is completely free to download and test it out like this. When it opens up, it might ask you to sign in. But if you don't want to, feel free to use the web-based client of it. It is completely free. You'll be easily able to try this kind of request on your own accounts that is available on social media, or if you want to check it out on some others, there are a lot of online dumps that are available over there. And about the DevNet session that we are going to take over here, you will be starting from the basics and we will be covering the entire topics that's available on DevNet like track. So I just wanted to show you this before leaving. So this is post DevNet explanation page. So here, if you go down, you'll be able to see DevNet Associate. So to get DevNet Associate, you have to complete the exam DevAsk. That topic's completely covered in our session. Okay. So once you finish this DevAsk, you will be having the DevNet Associate batch. Step 2 is to complete the Dev Core examination. So once you complete the core examination, you will be provided with Certified Specialist certification, Cisco Certified DevNet Specialist. Once that is because you will have to complete 2 exams on core level, like professional level. If you complete 2 exams, you will be getting DevNet Professional. If you complete 1 exam, you will be getting Specialist certification. So once you finish core, you can just choose any one of the available like deviations, or let's say available concentrated exams. For example, I'll just show you over here. It's not they have made some updation on this. So basically, you will be able to take the core exam along with other ones like ENAUI or SPAUI or DevOps certification. Once you complete that exam, you'll be able to get DevNet professional certification. So for DevNet associate and specialist, we completely clear it over there. And even for professional, if you are looking for core exams, that also will be discussed over here. And DevNet expert, that will be the final step that we'll be discussing in our session. Okay, which means we'll be having an 8-hour lab for this DevNet expert exams. And for that, what we do is we will integrate all the different topics that we discuss in associate certification as well as professional certification. Once all of them are brought together, you will be able to do your DevNet expert certification exam. And to complete, even if you want to get the DevNet expert certification, you will have to write the DevCore exam. That is a mandatory requirement to sit in for DevNet expert. Only after you have completed the DevCore exam, you will be allowed to sit in for DevNet expert. Okay. So yes, that's it, guys. Thanks again. My name is Srihari. I will be the person taking the session for you once you join in for our DevNet Associate to Expert certification. So thank you, guys. See you then.